Hey guys, it's Melissa here from melissaoatman.com. Welcome to another episode of Awaken Your Inner Awesomeness, a weekly podcast devoted to all things spirituality and self-improvement. I am so delighted you guys are here with me today because we have an awesome guest. Today we have with us Miss Summer McStravick. She is an author and host of the podcast Flowdreaming. She's here today to talk to us about what Flowdreaming is and what it means for you and how it could be beneficial for you in your own life. I'm very excited to talk about that because I am just learning about this method myself. And I'm always, of course, all about manifesting our best lives. So I cannot wait to jump in and learn more about this. Thank you so much, Summer, for being here with us today.
Hi, Melissa. Thank you. I'm happy and delighted. Love to talk and share about this.
I'm very excited to learn more about this as well. But before we get started, I would love it if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself because you are very, very talented. Obviously, you're an author and podcaster, but you have done a lot of things and worked with a lot of amazing people. So why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Oh gosh, where do I start? Um, I was basically born into a family of intuitives and mediums, people who worked with healing touch and energy. Um, myself, the firstborn daughter of the firstborn daughter of the firstborn daughter of the firstborn daughter. It's a strange and fun kind of lineage. So early on, I did everything I could not to end up the same way as my mom and my grandmother and my great grandmother by trying to get a very traditional career for myself. I went into publishing and literature. Of course, the way the world would have it, I ended up working for Louise Hay and her company, Hay House. So, you can't, the apple never falls far from the tree, no matter how much you may try. So I spent a good decade. I actually spent a couple decades in publishing, but I spent a good decade there. And that's where I always say the universe skilled me up in my master's degree, my unintentional, they paid me to get it because I was learning there how to produce audio, how to produce podcasts, webinars, workshops, everything online that was coming through audio based, even audiobooks, Hay House Radio, that was all my doing. And the education I got from it wasn't just how to do things to reach a large audience, but how to work with people who were really and still are at the top of their game. The biggest luminaries, Dr. Wayne Dyer and Louise Hay and Marianne Williamson and Greg Braden and all of them, Jerry Nestor Hicks, everybody, and how to kind of meet and attempt to match that level, I guess you could say. Eventually, I ended up writing several books for Hay House and transitioned from being an employee there to an author in my own right, a speaker and a teacher. So for the last 10, 15 years, I have been sharing this world of flow dreaming with people, which ended up being something that life, I guess, really wanted me to do. So here I am, and I have a company now that shares and teaches all about it. I have over 300 audios and 3 books and 40 courses and oh my gosh, all kinds of stuff. But that's a bit of my background in a nutshell. Kind of a cool story.
Yeah. And how funny is the universe that you're a publisher and so they sent you to work for Hay House? I mean,
Yeah.
you can't make that up.
Yes. Yeah, no. And I actually actively tried not to get a job there several times, which is kind of weird. Like they asked me would you like to work full time? And I said, no, absolutely not. I want to be a freelancer forever. And they said, would you please work full? I said, okay, we'll do it 2 weeks. If I hate it, I'm leaving. I can't even believe I ever said that. I just feel so ridiculous now. But of course I ended up staying because I ended up loving it. So
That's so funny.
yeah.
Okay, so flow dreaming. You have books about it, you have a podcast about it. What is this all about?
Yeah. So again, many years ago, a couple decades ago, gave away how old I am. I, was obviously steeped in all the mind, body, spirit stuff that I've grown up in. And there was a time when I was trying to grow my own little business, my own, it was a literary magazine that I had. And I was doing everything I could to quote, manifest it. Now, this is before The Secret. I mean, certainly law of attraction was still kind of out there. And, we had Jerry Nestor Hicks talking a lot about this. And there were some trends going on like creative visualization. Louise Hay's, affirmations. There were certain ways you could try to encourage the universe to do your bidding, if you will. So I was trying all of them. Meditation. Absolutely nothing was working. Nothing was working. So one day I was on the phone with my mom and I was, crying into the telephone saying, I'm hemorrhaging money. I think I was 28 at the time, giving all of my savings, all of my earnings every month into, keeping this tiny little magazine alive. And I said, Mom, we've got to do something different. I need to manifest this. I need to make this work. I need the universe to know this is what I want to do. And we ended up in this place, kind of bringing each other there. I can only call it the flow, an expanded, enhanced, kind of heightened state of being. And we were both kind of excited, like, where did we end up? What are we doing here? And we were sort of talking each other through, almost like, you have a diet buddy on the phone. You're like, did you stay under 1,000 calories today? I did. Did you? We were doing that kind of as manifesting buddies. So from there, I began exploring, what is this? It felt so potent. It felt so rich. It felt like for the first time, the universe was actually hearing me. And it wasn't just stuff circling around in my head or me staring at myself in a mirror and getting uncomfortable. It was like a bridge had opened, a portal had opened. So I did a lot of research after that, and it ended up forming the basis of the technique that, I now today call flow dreaming. And, at heart, it is a technique for manifesting, but it also capitalizes on a lot of abilities that are already in us, very natural to who we are. It's an alternative to meditation for people who find it's difficult to keep our busy minds quiet and under control. So it ends up being a kind of perfect practice for a lot of us, busy thinkers, creative thinkers, people who love reading books, and going to other worlds. We are just at home. We are fish in water when we practice this technique. But you can also use it besides manifesting. I've played all over the board with this. Healing, changing my own psychological, emotional landscape. All kinds of things can be done. So do you want me to keep going? I'll describe the technique in detail.
Yeah. So how does it work exactly?
Yeah, okay. So basically, there's three parts to flow dreaming. I call it the three pillars. One is flow energy. And I could talk for hours about what that is and means, from the most mundane level, which is Dr. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, positive psychologist who coined the term. And he applied flow state to peak performance, athletes who are picturing their swing ahead of time, or the scientist who is so deep in their work that they forget to get up and eat for 8 hours. And we recognize flow state as something that we accidentally fall into oftentimes. And then when we're there, it's like, whoa, I had the most productive, amazing day ever. Everything went right. That's a base level. Applied to spiritual level, flow state is, well, what if you are in a peak state in communication with spirit, with all that is? What if instead of practicing something physical around you, you're practicing a communication, an opening, a connectivity, an energetic conduit, if you will? Then flow state also means a place of least resistance, an actual pathway, if you will. So imagine that you've got all of these paths in front of you, from the very, very hardest to the very, very easiest, right? There's always a full polarity out there, a black and white and up and down. And we're all usually on a path somewhere in the middle of all of those. In flow, we recognize I want to get as close as I can to the path of least resistance. So if I'm creating something, I want everything out of its way. I want the universe to hear loud and clear, this is who I am. This is how easy it is for me to reach this. This is how committed I am to not having to go through a bunch of resistance and difficulty and trauma to get there. This is my choice, and this is what I'm communicating. So I could keep going on about, all the different things that flow actually is. But the second pillar, how do you get to this state, right? It seems difficult, or like you've got to, practice for 20 years. It's not hard at all. I discovered that we typically dip into this state, like I said, accidentally. We are engrossed in something. We are focused in something, but we're also oftentimes just daydreaming. We are just, doing our work and we're drifting off, or we're in the shower and pretty soon we look at the clock. We've been in for 15 minutes already. Where have I been?
Yeah.
When you're daydreaming, you're opening up a portal, a conduit to, kind of spaciousness. And it's really interesting how our bodies can physically continue to go through actions. It's like there's a part of us that's, the physical monitor is still on and working. Like for me, I joke, I'm always driving home. I'm like, I hope I stopped at all those stoplights because I don't remember. Um, but another part of us is literally outside of time. We forget how much time has passed. We often forget the space around us. Particularly if your eyes are closed, you really, really forget everything. So we're going to use a very basic, imaginative thing that we do all day long. You don't even have to learn it. So the only difference is when you typically daydream, you kind of fuzz out, sort of like when you fall into a dream and fall asleep at night. You know you're going to go dreaming, but you're not awake in your dream unless you lucid dream. So in our case, we're going to purposefully imagine and go into whatever scenario makes us feel like what is flowing, what is a beautiful ribbon of energy that's just pouring forward. Where is all the power in my life? Where is the manifestational sand that I can make my sandcastles of living with? And then at a certain point, we stay with it. We don't just get lost in it. We stay aware that we're still there. And it's sort of like lucid daydreaming. We are aware that we are daydreaming. It's something you can practice very simply. It's not that hard to do. It's very easy. Third component, what do you do when you get there? Like, how do you actually have that conversation? How do you um, emit or align or get into coherence? There's so many different ways of saying it. Your desires with everything else, your future self, all that is. And I found the best way for me was to communicate through the language of emotion. So I don't talk. I mean, I can say words, but they're pretty empty. Um, I might see imagery, and that's a little more rich, if you will. But the real communication is this is how I intend to feel. This is the feeling that I want to have in this area of my life. I call this my emotional endpoint. So for an example, we'll do, we've got a Mercury retrograde coming up again. Yeah. Warning everybody. So right now, many of us who are sensitive to it, we're kind of going, oh boy, now I've got to rearrange my schedule. Things are going to get disrupted. We're already projecting what I call lack thinking into this space. I'm anticipating hardship and difficulty. I'm going to reroute and rearrange and pause things. We are communicating to the universe just without even being in flow, but just constantly. This is my expectation. So I look at the world around us as like a hall of mirrors. It's reflecting us perfectly. If I'm anticipating this, life around us is saying, did you hear that, folks? She thinks it's going to be hard. Guess we're going to make sure that happens because that's what we do. We perfectly reflect. When I'm going into flow, instead, I might say something like this. Nah, Mercury retrograde, everything is actually going to shake out, shake loose, and get in gorgeous and perfect alignment. I'm going to utilize the fact that things are shifting and changing and maybe stalled and stuck, which is perfect because I need some things stalled out. I need some things stuck. I need some things that don't work for me anymore to just fizzle out and drop away. So the purity and the rightness of what I'm doing can really, really rise to the surface without any resistance. So I would go into flow, and even as I spoke that, you could tell there's a kind of feeling behind it. There's an intention in it, but there's a feeling of shaking out and ease, lifting up, rising to the surface, a majestic power, a movement ahead. Those are all emotions that I have to speak into words. Otherwise, I would just be quiet and you wouldn't know what I was doing in there. So if I were to go into my flow and say, I'm anticipating this is what's going to happen, I would be feeling that in this state. And then I would use the daydream, the imagery to kind of help me. And you notice I already kind of gave some hints to that. Things, disintegrating, which I think is good. A shower of silvery light, just breaking free, letting loose. An up-leveling, a quickening, a speeding forward, an ease that lifts me and guides me. That is now what I'm anticipating when I move into Mercury retrograde. And furthermore, when I'm doing it in this flow space, when I'm having this sort of communication, what I'm saying to the universe is, this is who I am now. This is who I expect to be, intend to be, want to be, desire to be, am. Am. Read this off me instead. The universe is like, okay, guys, she said. She expects ease. She expects things to be released and let go, and for the bad stuff to flow away and the good stuff to be freed up to lift higher. Let's do it. So that for me really forms, the basis of my practice. And on the surface, it can sound kind of like obvious. But the fact is, most of us are always trying to be in some sort of vibrational state or alignment. We're trying to control our mindset and our thinking, but it feels very loosey-goosey. Like, I don't know how to get there. Like, what do I do? Do I meditate? What do I do? Um, for me, doing this every day for like 10 minutes or so is what I call a spiritual practice. We go to the gym and we strengthen our muscles, our body responds. We do Sudoku and crosswords and we stay sharp, keep our mind active, learn that Rosetta Stone, new language, keep our mind sharp. What do we do every day for our energetic self? Nothing, nada. In fact, we sometimes just feel guilty that we haven't done enough for it, or I haven't, like, my vibe is so low today. So this is the practice that you can fit in that will now begin to day after day. You go to the gym every day, your body will be different. You practice this every day, the entire way the world responds to you, your entire energetic, emotional self will start to be different. And I've been doing it for, like I said, daily, multiple times a day. I take people into this space. So I spend an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours in this space with other people. And over time, your life shifts around to perfectly reflect who you are. So I play the long game. I want to shift for the next 10, 20 years, 30 years, however long I've got left. I'm going to keep growing and communicating within this space. Does that make sense in a kind of nutshell, big picture way?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, what stands out to me is that most of us do this, but the opposite way. Most of us daydream, and then in our daydreams, a lot of people will imagine the worst things that can happen, or they think about, you're daydreaming, but without intention, if that makes any sense. So this
Yeah,
is like, it's the same thing to me as that mindset shifting as well, because it's like you're trying to be intentional about where your daydreams are going and
yeah.
what you're telling yourself. And that makes total sense to me. Of course, that would shift things. But I think for most of us, we don't even consider daydreaming a tool we
Important.
use. Yeah.
We don't consider daydreaming a tool. We don't consider our powerful emotional self a tool. Our culture, our Western culture particularly, um, has shamed us for being emotional. Don't be a girl. Stop trying to manipulate me. Stop crying. What's wrong with you? Get it together. Why do you have to feel that? Why are you feeling that way? What are you trying to get from me? As if emotions are either weaponized or made to seem weak and untrustworthy. Medicate them away just to get rid of them.
Yeah.
And same is true with daydreaming. Stop daydreaming. What's wrong with you? Um, all the times you were ever told that in class. The things that are really powerful, we tend to, as this culture, suppress because that's how we control things that we are actually afraid of because we don't understand them. We have a feeling about their power, but we've we don't know how to really bring them out. Um, so when I teach people this process, one of the first things we do is look at all of the emotions that are out there. They're crayons in a crayon box. Every single emotion is a color that is useful to create something with. It's just about figuring out, do we want to use a little gratitude on this one? Do we want to use total ownership, commitment? Do we want to feel receiving? Do we want to feel release? Do we want to feel a sense of relief? Do we want to feel deep safety, security? What would be a good mix here for this, area of our life? So, yeah, I completely agree. And to go back to what you said about daydreaming often going into the worst places, again, our little biological bodies have conditioned us to go into lack thinking. They call it negativity bias, catastrophic thinking. So when we're daydreaming, we're often going into this place trying to figure things out, fix them. Almost, it's a form of bracing. If I can prepare for this, if I can circle around it in my head 5,000 times, then when it happens, I'll be ready and I'll have a solution already there. It's almost like we're trying to vaccinate ourselves in advance for something that typically never actually happens. But what happens is we end up with this buildup of what I call lack thinking. And the lack thinking starts to overtake us. Imagine if lack thinking was the little, yucky green gray, crayon in the box. I don't know, pick your worst color. For me, it's like an olive khaki color. Right. So I end up creating that in me over and over again, meaning I'm actually kind of scribbling all over me. That's my energy that I keep adding to and adding to. Eventually, what life is reading off me is lack thinking, scarcity thinking, fear thinking. All right, that's what she's given us. Let's make sure she's right. And it becomes this perpetual motion machine, the snowball effect, this self-fulfilling prophecy. And then you can walk around and say, look, I knew this was all going to go to hell, and it did. And I was right. It's like, yes, you were right. And you will continue to be right as long as you are still creating that in you. I need you to do something that you haven't done before in a comfortable way, which is to feel something completely different. So this for me also kind of gets into the idea of manifesting, because often this lack thinking is based on what's happened in our past. Mm-hmm. We are having a response or a reaction to past things, and we're projecting it into the future. Everything that's happened to me, I'm anticipating will continue to happen. When we're manifesting, then we're throwing all this lack anticipation out in front of us, which just, again, keeps the cycle rolling. We have to pause that and say, look, I'm going to do something very different. I'm going to feel something very different. I have no basis to feel this. I have no reason to feel this. Life hasn't given me anything to feel this. But if I don't start communicating this to my life right now, it will never know what to give me. So I call this creating an energetic emotional template. Instead of the lack thinking, like when I'm daydreaming or going powerfully into flow dreaming, I would say something instead like, no, this works out so well. This was a non-thing. This was a tiniest little bump in the road. I didn't even feel it. I stepped over it like an elephant stepping over an ant. I am amazed at how smooth and perfect this thing happened. I'm being very general, but I can't believe all the thoughts that I had around it being hard or difficult. Wow. So in that feeling now, what I'm saying to life is, this hasn't happened yet, but I'm sketching for you a blueprint. I am what I call pre-sponding or pre-acting, as opposed to responding and reacting. So if you want to shift into quote, quote, manifestation, that means you are looking ahead to things that have not yet occurred and telling your life what you kind of want to experience. That's all it is. It's all manifesting is. Just, I want to experience this. Here's what it is. I'm going to show you energetically how this feels and looks. And you go into that space and you do it. Do that enough. And what happens is the lack that's been such a part of you kind of gets overwritten. You're starting to write more of a different energy into it. You're going to still have lack. I still have lack. But it's far less than it used to be. And it probably would have been far greater by now. We all know how people get kind of bitter and grumpy and worn down and cranky and, negative over the years.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's happened.
So I have a question for you. Let's say that someone is out there and feels stuck in some area of their life. And maybe they're procrastinating about changing any certain area of their life because this feeling of being stuck and not knowing what to do. How might they be able to start using the flow dreaming technique to maybe nudge them forward?
Oh, such a great question. Because I don't want to say half, but quite a few people I've been talking with in the last few years, ever since the whole pandemic, everybody ground to a halt, and they're trying to restart but then they restart and realize I'm not the same person I used to be. Oh my God, now what? Because going back to where I used to be doesn't fit, but I don't know where to go after this. And I've frankly just been traumatized. What do I do? Right. So there's this urge for renewal, an urge for healing, and an urge to reestablish trust in themselves and that life is really going to be there for them as opposed to against them. So the great thing is you don't actually have to know what your next step is. And that's where I think we often procrastinate because we feel like I don't know if this is the right path. I don't know if this is the right choice. Oh my God, all those classes and courses I took over the last 3 years, none of them panned out. I spent all that money and it was all a waste and I don't even trust. I don't know, right?
Yeah.
Because we've been searching. With Flowdreaming, you can just go into this space. And the communication there, the feeling there, the manifesting there would be something like this. I can feel the perfect path. Sorry, I close my eyes when I kind of go into the state myself by habit. So I'm looking at you, but I'm feeling you, right? I am experiencing an opening right now. I'm experiencing the right path just coming and finding me. I'm feeling a breath of relief, a sighing, satisfaction, a surprised, excited glance around. I find myself telling friends and family, you wouldn't believe what just happened for me. I have no idea. I did not know that I would love this so much. I never realized this was the perfect thing for me. This was an absolute fit for me. I can't believe I wasn't even looking for this. It found me. And I've just been just flowing it. I'm a duck to water in this. And it just feels so right. I have no questions around it. I feel relief. I feel gratitude. I feel wonder. I feel awe. I feel just overwhelmed with thankfulness. I'm on the path. I feel open again. I feel relaxed again. I finally feel no anxiety again. I feel like I'm going exactly where I need to go. This is fabulous. Okay, so here's the beauty. I didn't have to know where I'm going or what's exactly going to come in for me. But imagine if I say that every single day, every morning, every evening, I'm standing in the shower, I'm flow dreaming. And that's what all of life is hearing from me. And depending on your spirituality, your guides are hearing it, your angels are hearing it, your higher self is hearing it, source in the universe is hearing it, the net of consciousness that we all are is hearing it and saying, all right, guess what we need to do? What is going to be the most perfect thing, the easiest thing, the fastest thing we can drop into their life right now? Because we have to match this. For us to not match this would be more effort and more energy than the universe wants to spend. Right? There's a scientific law that says the universe spends the least amount of energy to get what it needs. So it is not going to try and rebuff us and tell us no. It's going to try to match it because that is the least amount of energy. And there you go. Things start piling in. It's up to us now to shift our feelings and receive them and trust them and say, this feels right. I'm going to taste this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to jump into that. And that's where we have to do kind of our own inner work to gain the trust in ourselves to begin whatever it is that we're being shown or given. So look around you right now in your life. There are things that you have requested already here, right here already, right? Don't think they're still coming. They're already here because the universe and life kind of knows what you've needed. So look around and give everything a double take because some of those things are going to fit.
Yeah. Giving me chills.
Thank you.
I love that. So do you have like recordings that you do for people that kind of help them get into the state of the flow dreaming?
Yeah. So think of it like you can meditate on your own, or you can get a guided meditation, or have a teacher do it live with you. Flow dreaming is very similar. You can flow dream on your own. And at my website, flowdreaming.com, I provide several flow dreams for you to get started with. Also on my YouTube channel, I've got a complete tutorial there where I teach you each of these areas, how to do it in a much bigger way, right? It takes like maybe 45 minutes or an hour to get through the whole, teaching process. You can do it on your own. If you want to do a guided flow dream, I have an app on your phone, Flowdreaming for meditation and manifesting. And I, again, teach you how to do it there. There's a free tutorial, and I give you a couple free ones to start with. And these are guided flow dreams. They're not meditations. Okay. Can't stress that enough. People are like, there's too much energy. I couldn't meditate to this. I'm like, you're not supposed to. If you are, you're doing it wrong. We're not doing self-hypnosis either, guys. I want you to feel emotion and energy. And my job is to be like we're two people hiking and we're going up the mountain, and I'm reaching and I'm holding your hand and I'm pulling you up some of the rocks sometimes. There's energy and there's emotion in there. So, I've got over 300 of those for people. And then I also work individually and move into flow state with a person and be their tour guide and say, what do you want to make personally, individually? What is the particular combination you need right now? And then I'll record, custom flow dreams with them and for them that they can continue to use. So yeah, there's a whole ton of different options or opportunities for where you want to go with it.
Awesome. And I'm going to put the links in the show notes too for your website and also for your YouTube channel so that people can more easily find that. I want to thank you so much for being here today, because I know that, the energies right now in the universe and what's going on around us are so heavy. And I think people need these positive tools that they can use to help make things easier in life, because I don't know about everybody else, but it's just been so heavy lately. And I think that this is such an important thing for people to be shown, hey, it doesn't have to be this way.
Yeah, 100%. The world is in the middle of a big shift right now as we go into the information age. And it means that we're all trying to navigate just an absolute avalanche of information coming at us, and understanding we have all this conversation about what's truth, what's real. And, part of that is physical information. The internet itself is part of this age, but there's also information, spiritual information, guidance that's also coming up in a much bigger way. So think about that layer of information too. And that's something we can tap into and utilize even more easily now than ever before. When, being intuitive or doing this kind of work was shunned or mistrusted or, religiously repressed. So we have this also other kind of freedom. So there might be some really heavy stuff out there, but there's also this light stuff too to kind of balance it out. So pick which you want to focus on right now. Okay.
Exactly. And I love that. And, I'm all about being light and being, sharing kindness and all of those things in the world. So I love that you are doing this for people and that you have so much awesome free stuff for people out there to check out too. So I encourage everybody to go to her YouTube channel, check out the app, all the things. Those will all be in the show notes. And I just want to thank you for everything you're doing and also for being here and sharing what flow dreaming is with us today. It's been so eye-opening, and I love the conversation.
Thank you. I forgot to mention the podcast, also called Flow Dreaming.
Yes.
There's like 750 hours of teachings in there, so for free. But yeah, thank you so much, Melissa. It was a pleasure and a delight to talk with you. And thank you for letting me share so much.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. And I just wish you so much luck in, the podcast and everything that you're doing. And again, thank you for doing all of that. Again, I encourage all of you to go and check out. All of that will be in the show notes so that you can get to it easily. And thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you.
I want to thank you guys too for being here with us today. As always, if you like this podcast, please subscribe. Please leave a positive review from wherever you're listening. And of course, the greatest compliment you can pay me is to share this podcast with those you think might benefit. If you want to work with me, my website is in the show notes as well. You can also purchase Beautiful Mourning, A Guide to Life After Loss, that's available on Amazon. The link for that is also in the show notes. I hope you guys have an amazing week. I am sending you so much love and light, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.